Haruna from the Department of Cybersecurity and Digital Forensics, and my student ID is 22508240, and I'm here to practice on the web boot, that's SQL injection. So first, what I'll do is to navigate to where I have my web boot, and I'll launch it. So I'll open the terminal, and I'll type the code Java, so Java, then web goods. The version is 2025.3.jar to launch. So launch my web boot 2025 Java .jar. Okay, because I'm waiting for my web boot to launch. Web boot will be giving me an IP address which I'll use my browser to log in to have access to the web boot platform. So as you can see, it is running. So I'm waiting for the IP address. Okay, so this is the IP address. So I'll copy this IP address. Now launch my browser, and I'll push the link to load my web boot. So my web boot is in. The next thing is I'll log in into my web boot. So this is the platform of the web boot, and I'm in to practice on SQL injection. So that's SQL injection. So we have a series of lessons over here. So this lesson describes the structured query language, that's the SQL. Structured query language is how it can be manipulated to perform a task that were not original intent of the developer. So with the SQL injection, you can update, delete, view from the database. So we first look at our first activity. So SQL standardization. So this is our table. We have a table called employees, and we have an activity down here. So look at the example of the table. Try to retrieve the department of employee Bob Uncle. Note that you have full access. So first I will look at the name of the table, which is employees, and then the data that I want to view is Bob Franco. This is Bob Franco, and then the user ID is 9613. So that's the query that I'll put. So first I will select customers from employees. That's the name of the table. Where select from employees, where user ID is equal to, so the user ID is equal to, where is 96134. Close it, and I'll terminate it. So let's submit and see. Okay, so I'm able to inject an SQL query to view this. So let's move on to the next activity. So we have the activity 3. So data manipulation language, where you can select, update, insert, and delete. So let's look at some to try to change the department of Toby to sales. Note that you have been granted. So you first look at the table again, Let's look at the table again. So we have the department for Toby. For Toby, this is the ID for Toby. And you copy that. And then the department is development, but we want to change it to sales. So what we will do is we will update. So we will update employee set department set department. So we want to change the value for department and put sales. The department to sales. Where user ID is equal to, so you the ID that I copied. Let's see if this works. Okay, so I'm able to change the department of Toby, which was first deployment, to sales. Now let's move on to the fourth activity. So data definition language, you can create a table, you can alter the table. So let's see, now try to modify the schema by adding a column phone. So now this is the table that we are working in. You want to add a column phone and then voucher 20 to the table. So what we will do is we will alter. So alter employees table, alter table employees table, alter table employee, add phone, and then the voucher is 20. Let's see if that works. Let's see if you can. Okay, so we have been able to add phone into our existing table. Now let's move on to the next one, which is the 6. So what is SQL injection? It's also called SQL. It's one of the most common web hacking techniques. So let's see if you can do some serious hacking. So if an attacker puts a data containing character or string, a special password. So here, try some SQL here to better understand how the query works. So username, if an attacker inputs a string, try some SQL with understand. So you have this. This can work from the town name Smith. Oh, okay. So we have, let's try it. Or one is equal to okay. Wait for me. Oh, okay. Name is name is Smith. Okay. Now let's move on to the lesson 6. Wait, lesson 5. Okay. So we are saying that you should be able to grant right to unauthorized user. So this is the command grant. Okay, select select and update on going to grant access grant to unauthorized user. So to and this is so uh, grant rights to unauthorized user. Yeah. 6, 5. So there was a misspelling over here. I'll just add the R and I'll submit. Wow. So grant select update. Okay. So we are being able to grant access to someone who doesn't have access. Let's move on to the next activity. 7. So we are able to add users, truncate users, and then the rest. Go to 8. Saving activity. We go to 9. Okay. So we say we should try an SQL injection. Select from user where first name is John, last name is whatever. So trying this, retrieve users from the table you should not need to necessarily. Okay. So with this one we have Smith, which is his last name. Then we have this and not oh, oh wow. Oh, okay. So I'm in. So we have Smith. Uh, so string 1 is equal to string 1. Will give you access, and you can see all the data in the database. Wow. Okay. So let's move on to activity 10. So we are saying that the query in the code builds a dynamic query, or the query in the code builds a dynamic query by concatenating the number of, making it susceptible to the normal rejection. So one, using 2 inputs filled below, try to retrieve all the data from the user table. Try to input data from the user table. Okay. Okay. So using two input fields, try to retrieve all the data from the table. So this is the query over here. From user data where login count, so login count is equal to 0. Then we are going to use the normal way of hacking the password. So it is 1 or 1 is equal to 1, which makes the statement true. Once the statement is true, we will be able to get inside our data. Wow, so we are inside. Okay, we are very inside. So let's move to activity 11. So we are saying that you are an employee named John Smith working on a big company. Okay, so the system requires an employee to use the unique ID to view the data. So let's first view our data. Smith, and then our turn is 3SL99A. Let's see. So with this one, we are able to view only John Smith details. But what are we trying to use the form below to retrieve all employees? You should note that the specific name can. Okay. So now we should be able to log in. So let's use this one too. Is it? Wow. So select from employees where last name and last name. So let's try to so we have 1, that's the string of 1, or we have this, or the string of 1 is equal to the string of 1. Let's see if this one gets in and can enter anything inside here. Well, unexpected token. Okay, so the question is, you're an employee named John Smith working on a big company. The company has internal system that allow employees to see their own internal data, such as department they work and their salary. The system requires the employee to use a unique authentication. So let me use the authentication over here to see if I can see my data as Smith. So 3SL99A. Okay, so I'm able to view. But the question is saying that use the form below and try to retrieve all employees table. So this is what we are going to do. Instead of the Smith, we are going to leave a space column and you insert an SQL injection, which is all 1, the string of 1 is equal to the string of 1. Let's see if it will, wow. Okay, so we have injected an SQL code and we can view all. So let's continue to the next, which is 12, activity 12. Let's see. Query chaining is exactly what it sounds like. So with query chaining, you try to append one or more queries to an actual query. So you must find out that you have found out that Toby and Bob both seem to earn more money than you. Of course, you cannot leave that. Better go and change your own salary. So I'm Smith and I want to change my salary. So with this one, I'm going to first uh, update the table using the query. So let me see. So let's try this. I want to update myself. So update employees table set set salary is equal to, let me see, I've increased my salary where so I want to use my last name, which is Smith, where last underscore name is equal to Smith. And let's enter anything in there. Let's see. Sorry. Let's see what's wrong with our code. Update employee salary. Uh, where last name. So let's look at the table again. Last underscore name is Smith. Smith. Okay, this is not working because I have to first grant access for me to be able to enter the system. So this is what I'm going to do. How to grant access. So grant select select grant select then update. Grant select update. Update on grant underscore right two grant right two on authorized unauthorized underscore user user unauthorized underscore user. Okay, so this code will grant, let me see. So I first have to grant first have to grant right to unauthorized user, that is me. Then next I update. Next I update employee record. Set salary to this where last name is me. Let's run this query and see. Wow, still not working. Let me see. Let me see the problem with my. Oh, let me see the problem with my code. So we have grant. The base. Okay. Let's see. Wow. Let's copy these codes. Oh, okay. So you'll be able to use the code and you'll be able to update Don Smith. That's my salary to the 9,000. Right? So let's continue with the last part. So after changing my salary, I have to I have to clear the logs so that anybody that logs in or go to the log will not see that I've done anything fishy. So I'll use the drop query. That's drop table access underscore logs to cover my tracks so that anybody that logs in wouldn't find any tracks of me. So drop table access logs. The access is double C. Sorry, access is double C. Okay, so I've successfully deleted the access logs and need to compromise the availability of the data. So I think I've been able to injected so many SQL injections into the SQL database and I'm able to view, update, delete, insert into the column. And now I'm able to clear all the logs. Thank you. Hey, boy,